Dr. Ramon Torres wiped the sweat from his brow as he stepped into the shadow of the ancient temple. The jungle around him was thick and humid, the air heavy with the scent of earth and moss. Birds called in the distance, and the occasional rustle of leaves told him that the forest was alive with creatures he could not see. Ramon had come to this remote part of Guatemala for one reason: the map he had found in a forgotten library hinted at something incredible, something the world had long thought was just a story. The temple was old, worn by centuries of rain and wind. Its stones were covered in strange symbols, carved deep into the surface. Ramon ran his fingers over them, feeling the grooves that time had made smooth. Many of the carvings were familiar, drawn from Mayan history, but some were unlike anything he had seen before. They seemed almost alive, as if they were trying to tell him a secret. His heart beat faster. He knew he was close to something extraordinary. Ramon set down his pack and pulled out the ancient map. The edges were frayed, and the ink was faded, but the lines and symbols were clear enough for him to read. The map showed a path through the jungle to a place marked with a golden symbol. According to the notes he had translated, it was called Xibalba, the Mayan Underworld. The legend said it was a city of gold, but Ramon had always thought that part was just a story. Now, standing in front of the temple, he felt a chill of excitement. Maybe the story was true. He heard a soft voice behind him. "Are you sure about this, Ramon?" His assistant, Mateo, stood at the entrance, adjusting his wide-brimmed hat. Mateo was practical and cautious, always thinking 2 steps ahead. Ramon smiled at him. "I have never been more sure," Ramon said. "This map is real. The markings match the temple carvings perfectly. There is a hidden city here, Mateo, and it may hold secrets the world has never seen." Mateo raised an eyebrow. "And what about the stories of traps and dangers? The underworld is not supposed to be easy to find." Ramon laughed softly. "If it were easy, it would not be a secret." The 2 men entered the temple carefully. The air inside was cool and still, a sharp contrast to the heat outside. Dust rose in tiny clouds as they walked, and the sound of their footsteps echoed through the empty halls. The walls were decorated with murals showing scenes of Mayan life, but some of the images were strange. They showed beings with strange tools and glowing objects. Ramon stopped to examine one, his eyes wide. Could it be possible that the Mayans had seen something advanced, something beyond their time? They reached a large stone door, covered with carvings of jaguars and serpents. In the center was a circular indentation, the exact shape of a stone disc that Ramon had found in the ruins near the river. He carefully placed the disc in the indentation. The door rumbled, dust falling from above, and then slowly it began to open. A cool breeze escaped from inside, carrying with it a smell of earth and metal. Mateo took a cautious step back. "This is it, isn't it?" Ramon nodded. "The entrance to Xibalba. The underworld." As they stepped inside, the walls around them seemed to change. The carvings glowed faintly, and the air felt charged with energy. It was not darkness that welcomed them, but a dim light that seemed to come from the very stones themselves. Ramon's heart raced. He had expected ruins, empty halls, maybe some forgotten treasure. But this felt alive. It felt like the city itself was watching them. Ramon led the way, carefully exploring each corridor. Every turn brought new wonders. There were rooms filled with sculptures of gold, delicate and detailed, showing scenes of Mayan life and unknown ceremonies. In one chamber, a golden mask rested on a stone pedestal, its eyes shining as if it were awake. Ramon could hardly believe his eyes. He had uncovered a hidden part of history, a place untouched by time. Suddenly, Mateo stopped. "Ramon, look at this." He pointed to a series of symbols on the wall. They were different from the others, more complex and precise. Ramon studied them closely. They looked like instructions, like a map within the map, guiding the explorers deeper into the city. This is bigger than we imagined, Ramon said. Xibalba is not just a treasure trove. It is a city designed to protect knowledge, maybe even power. The Mayans built this for a reason. Mateo shivered. And we are the first humans to set foot here in centuries. Do you think it will let us pass? Ramon smiled, a spark of determination in his eyes. We will find out. Whatever awaits us, we are ready. The explorers moved deeper into the hidden city. The walls hummed softly, and the air grew warmer as they advanced. Ramon could feel a sense of destiny guiding him forward. The underworld was no longer just a story. It was real, and it was waiting for them to uncover its secrets. As the first light of the underground sun or maybe some unknown energy shone on the golden walls, Ramon knew that this was only the beginning. The lost gold of the Mayan underworld was out there, but more importantly, the secrets of a civilization ahead of its time were ready to be discovered. Ramon and Mateo moved carefully through the glowing corridors of the hidden city. The walls were covered in golden symbols and strange designs that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Each step echoed softly, but the sound seemed to fade quickly, as if the city itself was absorbing it. The explorers felt a mix of excitement and caution. They knew they were far from the world above, and the secrets of Xibalba were waiting for them to uncover. The path twisted and turned, leading them deeper underground. Along the way, they noticed strange mechanisms built into the walls. Some were levers shaped like animals, and others were panels with moving symbols. Ramon studied them carefully, trying to understand their purpose. These are not just decorations, he said. The city is alive with design. Every detail must mean something. Mateo frowned. Do you think it is dangerous? Ramon shook his head. I think it tests people. The builders wanted to make sure only the worthy could reach the heart of the city. We must be careful and smart. As they turned another corner, they entered a large chamber filled with pools of water. The water glowed softly, reflecting the golden walls and creating patterns on the ceiling. Strange plants grew along the edges, their leaves glimmering as if made of metal. Ramon knelt beside one of the pools and dipped his fingers into the water. It was cool and clear, but it felt different, like it carried energy. Look at this, Mateo said, pointing to the walls. The symbols here match the map. It is guiding us further. Ramon nodded. Yes. The Mayans knew something about energy or life that we do not understand. This city was not built for treasure alone. It was built for knowledge. They followed the path indicated by the symbols, moving past chambers filled with more golden sculptures and intricate murals. Some murals showed scenes of daily life, but others were strange. People were depicted with objects that glowed, moving machines, and creatures that did not exist in the real world. Ramon's mind raced. Could the Mayans have seen or imagined technology far beyond their time? As they explored, a low hum began to fill the corridors. At first, it was almost silent, but gradually it grew louder. The walls vibrated slightly, and Ramon could feel the energy in the air. Mateo looked worried. Ramon, what is that sound? I do not know, Ramon admitted. But I think it is part of the city. It reacts to our presence. The hum grew louder until it was almost a voice, a sound that seemed to call to them. They reached a massive door carved with images of jaguars, serpents, and human figures. In the center was a large golden disc with a glowing symbol. Ramon approached carefully. This must be the next chamber, he said. He pressed the symbol, and the door began to move. Gears turned, and the walls shook slightly. Slowly, the entrance opened to reveal a hall unlike anything they had seen before. The ceiling was high, and golden light filled the room from thousands of crystals embedded in the walls. At the center stood a pedestal holding a large golden artifact, shaped like a sun with intricate patterns. Mateo gasped. It is beautiful. Ramon stepped closer, examining the artifact. It is not just beauty, he said. It is a message, a tool, or maybe a key. The Mayans left this for someone to find. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the hall. Both explorers froze. From the corners of the room, statues of jaguars and serpents began to move. They were not alive in the normal sense, but their movements were deliberate. The guardians of the city had awakened. Ramon's heart pounded. "Stay calm," he whispered. "We need to understand them. They are not attacking yet. They are observing." The statues circled the room, their eyes glowing softly. Ramon noticed patterns in their movement, almost like a dance or a test. He realized that the city was not defending its treasures with violence but with intelligence. It wanted to see how humans would act. Ramon stepped forward slowly. "We come with respect," he said aloud. "We are here to learn, not to take." The guardians paused, and the room grew silent again. The air felt charged, but not threatening. Matteo relaxed slightly. "Do you think it worked?" he asked. Ramon nodded. "I think it is testing our intentions. The city wants to see if we are worthy to continue." The golden artifact glowed brighter, casting patterns on the walls that seemed to move like constellations. Ramon realized that the city was guiding them further. It was showing them a path of knowledge, not just treasure. For hours, they explored the hall, studying the murals, the symbols, and the guardians' patterns. Every discovery revealed more about the Mayans' understanding of the world, of energy, and of life. Ramon felt a sense of awe and responsibility. This city was not just history. It was a gift, a chance to learn from a civilization far ahead of its time. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Ramon looked at Matteo. "We have only just begun," he said. "Xibalba has much to teach us, and we must be patient and smart. The journey ahead will be dangerous, but it is worth it." Matteo nodded, feeling both excitement and a little fear. Together, they stepped back into the corridors, deeper into the heart of the hidden city, ready to follow the path the Mayans had left for them. The underworld was alive, and it was waiting for those who sought its secrets with courage and wisdom. Ramon and Matteo continued deeper into the hidden city, their footsteps careful but steady. The glowing walls guided them like a river of light, and the air seemed alive with energy. Every corridor was different. Some were narrow and filled with strange carvings, while others opened into chambers with ceilings so high that their heads barely reached the lower beams. Ramon could feel the presence of the city surrounding them, as if it was aware of their every move. They entered a hall where the floor was covered with mosaics made of colored stones. The patterns formed shapes of stars, planets, and unknown symbols. Ramon knelt down to study them, tracing his finger over the intricate designs. "The Mayans were brilliant," he said softly. "They understood the skies, mathematics, and maybe even energy we cannot fully imagine." Matteo followed, his eyes wide. "It is like they left a message for anyone who could understand. Maybe they wanted to guide people like us." As they moved forward, they noticed the temperature changing. The air grew warmer and more humid, yet it felt pleasant, like stepping into a greenhouse. Strange plants grew along the walls, their leaves shimmering in the golden light. Some seemed almost metallic, while others glowed faintly. Matteo reached out to touch one, and the leaf pulsed gently under his fingers. He stepped back, amazed. "These plants, they are alive, but different. They react to us." Ramon nodded. "Everything here is connected. The city, the plants, the light, it all works together. The Mayans designed more than a city. They built a living system." They reached a large doorway shaped like a jaguar's mouth. The symbol on the top glowed softly, inviting them to enter. Ramon pushed the door open, revealing a vast chamber. The walls and floor were covered in gold, and the ceiling sparkled with crystals that reflected the light in thousands of tiny rainbows. At the center of the room was a large platform, and on it rested a golden chest, carved with intricate patterns and strange symbols. Matteo gasped. The treasure, it is real. Ramon stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the chest. This is more than gold. I can feel it. The Mayans left something important here, something they wanted to protect. We must be careful. As they approached, the floor beneath them rumbled softly. From the shadows, statues of jaguars and serpents began to move. Their golden eyes glowed, and their movements were slow but deliberate. Ramon stopped in his tracks. The guardians, he whispered. They are testing us again. Mateo looked nervous. Do you think they will attack? Ramon shook his head. I do not think so. They react to intentions, not threats. We must move with respect and patience. The guardians circled them, their eyes following every movement. Ramon studied their patterns, noticing that they paused whenever he and Mateo remained still. Slowly, Ramon stepped forward and spoke aloud. We come with respect. We seek knowledge, not to steal. We wish to learn from your city and honor the Mayan legacy. The guardians paused, their golden eyes softening. Then, they moved aside, clearing a path to the chest. Ramon exhaled, a mixture of relief and wonder filling him. He reached out and opened the chest. Inside were golden artifacts, jewels, and strange objects that seemed to glow from within. But the most remarkable item was a small, crystal-like device that pulsed with energy. It was delicate, yet clearly powerful. Ramon held it in his hands, feeling a warmth spread through him. This is incredible. The Mayans created something far beyond what we have. This could change everything. Mateo examined the other treasures, careful not to touch the crystal. It is beautiful, but it feels alive. Like it has a purpose. Ramon nodded. I think you are right. The city wants us to use it wisely. It is a test, a lesson in responsibility and respect. As they explored the chamber, Ramon noticed more symbols on the walls, forming patterns that seemed to tell a story. The story spoke of a civilization that valued knowledge, balance, and the harmony between people and nature. It warned of greed and selfishness, emphasizing wisdom and cooperation. Ramon realized that the Mayans had left more than treasure. They had left guidance for future generations. Suddenly, a soft hum filled the chamber. The crystal device in Ramon's hand began to glow brighter, casting light across the room. The guardians stepped back, bowing slightly, as if recognizing that Ramon and Mateo had proven their worth. The energy in the chamber seemed to respond to their presence, illuminating hidden symbols on the walls and floor. Mateo stared in awe. It is like the city is alive. It understands us. Ramon smiled. Yes. And it is guiding us. We must follow carefully. The journey is not over. There is more to learn, more to discover. As they left the chamber, the golden light of the city reflected on their faces. Ramon felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. The lost gold of the Mayan underworld was not just a treasure to take. It was a challenge, a lesson, and a chance to understand a civilization far ahead of its time. Together, Ramon and Mateo continued through the corridors, ready to explore the deeper parts of Xibalba. The city was alive, full of mysteries and tests, and it awaited those who were willing to learn, respect, and rise to the challenge. The underworld was no longer just a legend. It was real, and it had chosen them to uncover its secrets. Ramon and Mateo moved deeper into the hidden city, following the glowing symbols that guided their way. The corridors grew narrower and darker, but the light from the walls and the energy of the city seemed to push them forward. Every step brought new mysteries, and the feeling of discovery filled their hearts with both excitement and caution. They reached a spiral staircase carved directly into the stone. The steps were worn smooth, showing that many had walked this path long ago. Ramon looked down and then up, realizing that the staircase led both deeper into the earth and back toward the surface. He knew they had to go down. Mateo gripped the railing tightly, feeling a little nervous. Are you sure this is safe? Matteo asked. Ramon nodded. We have come this far. The city is testing us, not trying to hurt us. We must trust our path. Step by step, they descended. The walls glowed brighter as they moved, and the air grew warmer. Strange plants grew along the edges, their leaves shining in soft colors. Some seemed almost translucent, letting the golden light pass through them. Matteo reached out to touch one, and it responded, pulsing gently. He smiled, feeling the connection between the city and its visitors. At the bottom of the staircase, they entered a chamber that was different from any they had seen. The walls were covered in enormous murals, depicting the sun, the moon, stars, and planets. Humans and animals danced together in scenes that seemed alive. In the center of the room was a large stone platform with a small pool of water on top. The water glowed faintly, reflecting the images on the walls. Ramon approached the pool and looked into it. The surface shimmered, and he saw visions inside, scenes of the Mayans working, building, and learning. He saw people studying the stars, crafting tools, and celebrating festivals. But he also saw challenges, floods, storms, and dangers that tested their courage. This pool, Ramon said quietly, it shows the history of the Mayans and their wisdom. It is not just a reflection. It is teaching us. Matteo knelt beside him, watching the images. It is like we are part of the story. The city wants us to understand their life, their choices, and their courage. As they studied the pool, the chamber trembled slightly. A low hum filled the air, and a hidden door opened along one wall. Light spilled from the opening, revealing a corridor lined with golden panels. Each panel had a symbol, and each symbol glowed when touched. Ramon realized that this was another test, a puzzle to prove their wisdom. He turned to Matteo. We need to follow the symbols carefully. Each one teaches something. One wrong step could close the path or block us from the treasure. Together, they began touching the panels in order, following the glowing path. The symbols responded, lighting up one after another. Occasionally, a panel would dim or change color, reminding them to pay attention. Ramon and Matteo worked together, watching patterns, remembering the lessons from the murals and the pool. After several minutes, the final panel glowed brighter than the rest. The floor beneath them shifted slightly, revealing a hidden stairway descending further. Ramon looked at Matteo with excitement. This is it. The heart of the city is just ahead. They descended cautiously, entering a vast cavern filled with golden statues of animals and humans. The air was warm, filled with the scent of flowers and earth. Crystals hung from the ceiling, casting rainbows across the cavern. In the center was a large altar, and on it rested a golden mask, adorned with gems that sparkled like stars. Matteo stepped forward, amazed. It is beautiful. This must be the greatest treasure of all. Ramon approached the mask carefully, studying it. It is not just treasure. It is a symbol of wisdom and protection. The Mayans created this to remind people of their knowledge and courage. Suddenly, the guardians of the city appeared. Statues of jaguars and serpents came to life, circling the altar. Their eyes glowed, but Ramon felt no fear. He knew that the guardians were testing their hearts and intentions. We are here to learn, Ramon said aloud. We respect this city and its wisdom. We will honor your legacy. The guardians paused, then stepped aside, allowing them to approach the altar. Ramon lifted the mask gently. The gems glowed brighter, and the cavern filled with warm light. The pool in the chamber earlier reflected the mask, showing visions of the Mayans using it in ceremonies to protect and guide their people. Matteo watched in awe. The city is alive. It wants us to understand, not just take. Ramon nodded. Yes. We must remember this lesson. Knowledge and respect are more valuable than gold alone. As they left the chamber, the city seemed to hum with approval. The corridors glowed brighter, guiding them back toward the earlier halls. Ramon and Mateo felt a deep sense of accomplishment, but they also knew that their journey was not over. Xibalba still held more secrets, more challenges, and more lessons to teach. The underworld had shown them its treasures and wisdom. Ramon and Mateo understood that the true value of the lost gold of the Mayan underworld was not in the gold itself, but in the courage, respect, and knowledge they had gained along the way. Together, they walked forward, ready to explore the deeper mysteries that awaited in the heart of the hidden city. Ramon and Mateo moved carefully through the glowing corridors, still carrying the memory of the golden mask they had uncovered. The mask's power had not only filled the chamber with light but had also awakened something inside both explorers. They felt as if the city had accepted them, at least for now. Still, Ramon knew the journey was not finished. The map and the glowing symbols suggested there were more chambers to discover, and each chamber held a new test. The air grew cooler as they entered a wide passage filled with carvings. These carvings were not like the ones they had seen before. They showed scenes of the sky filled with stars, people holding strange tools, and patterns of numbers and lines. Ramon paused to study them. "These are lessons," he said, pointing at the carvings. "The Mayans wanted to teach through pictures. Look, this one shows the movement of the planets. And here, they show how numbers guide the cycles of time." Mateo ran his hand over one of the carvings. "It feels like they wanted us to solve something. Maybe this is another test." At the end of the passage stood a massive stone door. In the center of the door was a puzzle made of rotating golden discs. Each disc was carved with symbols of animals, stars, and numbers. Ramon studied it closely. He realized the discs were not random. They formed patterns based on the carvings on the walls. "This is a test of knowledge," Ramon said. "We must align the discs to show the right sequence. If we are wrong, the door will stay closed." Together, Ramon and Mateo worked on the puzzle. Ramon remembered the star patterns from the walls, while Mateo recalled the order of the animals in the murals they had seen earlier. Slowly, they turned the discs, watching as the symbols began to line up. After several tense moments, the final disc clicked into place. The ground shook gently, and the door opened with a soft hum. A warm light spilled out from the chamber beyond. Ramon and Mateo exchanged a look of relief and stepped inside. The chamber was unlike anything they had seen so far. The walls sparkled with golden designs that moved like flowing water. At the center stood a tall structure shaped like a pyramid, but smaller than the great ones above the ground. On each step of the pyramid were glowing crystals, each one shining with a different color. At the top was a golden sphere, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Mateo whispered, "It feels alive." Ramon nodded. "This must be the heart of the city. The Mayans built this as both a treasure and a test. We must be careful." As they approached the pyramid, the crystals began to glow brighter. Then, the room shifted. The walls transformed into illusions, showing stars, rivers, mountains, and people. The explorers realized they were standing inside a vision. Voices echoed softly, not in words but in feelings. The city was speaking to them, showing them its purpose. Ramon saw images of people working together, solving problems, and building with harmony. He also saw warnings, images of greed, destruction, and imbalance. Mateo gripped Ramon's shoulder. "It is asking us to choose. Do we take the treasure for ourselves, or do we use it for all?" Ramon looked at the golden sphere at the top of the pyramid. It seemed to pulse in time with his heartbeat. He realized this was the final part of the test. The city wanted to know their true intentions. He spoke clearly, his voice steady. "We choose knowledge and respect. We choose to honor the Mayans and share their wisdom with the world. We do not seek to take this for selfish gain." The crystals glowed brighter, filling the chamber with warm light. The golden sphere pulsed strongly, and then the vision faded. The walls returned to their original form, but the energy of the room was changed. The pyramid now shimmered as if it were alive, and the sphere slowly opened like a flower, revealing a crystal inside. Ramon picked up the crystal carefully. It was warm in his hand and glowed softly, filling him with calm. "This is the true treasure," he said. "A source of energy, a gift of wisdom. This is what the Mayans wanted us to find." The guardians appeared once again at the edges of the chamber. Their eyes glowed softly, but this time they did not move forward. They bowed their heads slightly, as if acknowledging the choice Ramon and Mateo had made. Mateo smiled. "They accept us. The city trusts us now." Ramon nodded. "Yes, but with this gift comes responsibility. We must use it carefully, or the city's warnings will come true." They left the chamber carrying the crystal, their hearts filled with both wonder and responsibility. As they walked back through the corridors, the golden light seemed warmer, almost welcoming. The city had tested them, and they had passed. But Ramon knew the journey was not over. The crystal was only the beginning. Xibalba had many more secrets to reveal, and each step forward would test not just their courage but their wisdom. As they paused to rest near one of the glowing pools, Ramon gazed at the crystal in his hands. "This is not just the lost gold of the Mayan underworld," he said softly. "It is the lost knowledge of a people who saw farther than we can imagine." Mateo looked at him with respect. "And now it is our duty to share it with the world." The underworld had shown its heart, and Ramon and Mateo knew their journey had entered a new chapter. The greatest test was yet to come. Ramon held the glowing crystal tightly as he and Mateo moved through the corridors of the hidden city. The walls seemed brighter now, as if the city itself was alive with energy. The air was warmer, and the hum that surrounded them was steady and calm. Ramon felt that the city had accepted them, but he also knew that their greatest challenge was still ahead. Mateo walked beside him, his eyes never leaving the crystal. "Do you think this is the final treasure?" he asked. Ramon shook his head. "No. This is only a part of it. The Mayans built this place not just to guard gold or jewels, but to test the heart of those who entered. We must be ready for one last trial." The path grew wider until they reached a grand chamber. The ceiling stretched high above them, decorated with glowing stars carved into the stone. At the center of the chamber stood a massive golden device shaped like a wheel. Symbols covered its surface, and in the middle was a hollow space that seemed to be waiting for something. Ramon realized immediately what it was. "The crystal," he said softly. "It belongs here. This is the final test." Mateo looked uneasy. "What if placing it activates something dangerous?" Ramon placed his hand on his friend's shoulder. "Every step has been a test of wisdom. If we choose with respect, the city will not harm us. We must trust its purpose." They approached the golden wheel carefully. The guardians of the city appeared once more, standing silently at the edges of the chamber. Their glowing eyes followed every movement. The air was heavy with expectation. Ramon lifted the crystal and placed it into the hollow space at the center of the wheel. The chamber trembled. The wheel began to turn slowly, its symbols glowing one by one. The stars on the ceiling shone brighter, and beams of light connected them into constellations. The entire room was filled with golden radiance. Ramon and Mateo shielded their eyes, but the light was warm and calming rather than harsh. Then the wheel stopped, and a vision filled the chamber. The walls transformed into images of the world. They saw mountains, oceans, forests, and cities. The vision showed people working together, using energy from crystals like the one Ramon had found. It showed clean rivers, fields full of crops, and skies without smoke. Humanity thrived in balance with nature. Mateo whispered, "It is showing us a future. A future we could have if we use this knowledge wisely." Ramon nodded, his voice steady. "This is the gift of the Mayans. They discovered a power beyond their time, but they chose to hide it until humanity was ready. We must prove that we are worthy." The vision changed. It showed another path, one filled with greed and selfishness. People fought for the crystals, and the land was torn apart. Rivers dried, cities crumbled, and darkness spread across the world. The message was clear. The knowledge and energy could bring life or destruction. The choice depended on those who held it. Ramon stepped forward, speaking clearly into the chamber. We choose to protect this gift. We choose to use it for all, not for selfish gain. We will honor the wisdom of the Mayans. The guardians bowed their heads, and the chamber filled with a peaceful hum. The golden wheel glowed brighter, then slowly returned to stillness. The crystal floated gently back into Ramon's hands, pulsing softly. It was lighter now, as if it had accepted him as its keeper. Mateo exhaled with relief. We passed the final test. The city trusts us. Ramon smiled. Yes, but this is not the end. Now comes the true challenge. We must return to the surface and share what we have learned. The world must understand that this gift is not just power, but responsibility. They began their journey back through the corridors. The city no longer felt like a maze. The walls glowed brightly, guiding them toward the exit. The air was lighter, and the hum of energy followed them like a song. As they climbed the spiral staircase, Ramon looked back one last time. The chambers behind them shimmered in golden light, as if the city itself was saying farewell. He felt a deep connection, as though Xibalba had become a part of him. He knew he would never forget its lessons. When they finally stepped out of the underground temple and into the fresh air of the jungle, the sunlight felt different. The world above seemed brighter, more alive. Birds sang in the trees, and the wind carried the scent of earth and flowers. Ramon held the crystal up to the light, and it glowed softly, as if in harmony with the sun. Mateo looked at him and smiled. We found the lost gold of the Mayan underworld. But it is not gold at all. It is wisdom. Ramon nodded. Yes. The Mayans gave us more than treasure. They gave us a chance to build a better world. Now we must see if humanity is ready. As they walked through the jungle, the weight of their discovery sank in. They carried not only a crystal of immense power but also the hopes of a civilization long gone. The Mayans had trusted them, and now it was their duty to honor that trust. The underworld had given its final lesson. The true treasure was not hidden in the ground but in the choices of those who dared to uncover it. The jungle stretched wide and endless as Ramon and Mateo made their way back to the camp. The morning sun shone brightly through the trees, and the sound of birds echoed all around. Ramon carried the crystal carefully in a cloth pouch, feeling its steady pulse against his chest. Every step reminded him of the responsibility he now held. Mateo walked beside him, his thoughts racing. Ramon, he said after a long silence, do you think the world is ready for this? Ramon glanced at him, his eyes calm but serious. The world is never fully ready for such knowledge. But we cannot hide it forever. The Mayans built Xibalba not to keep people away, but to make sure only those with respect would reach it. We passed their tests. Now it is our duty to share what we found wisely. When they reached their camp, the rest of their small team gathered around. Some were surprised to see them return, thinking the temple had claimed them like so many explorers before. Others stared at the pouch, sensing something important inside. Ramon explained their journey carefully, describing the murals, the guardians, and the final test of wisdom. He showed them the crystal, its glow soft but steady even in daylight. Gasps filled the air. One of the team members whispered, "It is like holding a piece of the sun." Ramon nodded. This is not gold to be melted or sold. It is energy, pure and endless. The Mayans understood it, but they also understood the danger of greed. That is why they built the tests. This crystal can give light, power, and life, but it can also bring ruin if used without wisdom. For several days, Ramon and his team studied the crystal. They discovered that it responded to touch, to sound, even to thought. When placed in water, the water became warm and clear. When held in darkness, the crystal glowed brighter, filling the space with light. It seemed to carry the energy of both the earth and the stars. Matteo wrote notes carefully, recording every detail. The city has given us knowledge, but only a part of it. We must learn slowly, step by step, just as the Mayans wanted. Ramon agreed. The greatest treasure is not the crystal itself, but the lesson that comes with it. Knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. We must remember this. After preparing their supplies, the team began the long journey back to civilization. The jungle was still wild and challenging, but Ramon felt as if the path had become lighter. Every sound of nature, every bird, and every rustling leaf felt alive with meaning. It was as if the spirit of Xibalba was walking with them, guiding their steps. When they finally reached the nearest town, word of their discovery spread quickly. Scholars, scientists, and even leaders wanted to know the truth. Many doubted their story until Ramon placed the crystal on a table in the middle of the room. Its glow filled the hall with golden light, silencing everyone. This, Ramon said firmly, is the lost gold of the Mayan underworld. But it is not gold in the way you expect. It is a gift of energy, left by a people who saw far beyond their time. They trusted us to use it with wisdom. That is the lesson of Xibalba. The people in the room stared at the crystal, their eyes wide with wonder. Some whispered about its power, others about its value, but Ramon raised his hand to quiet them. You must understand, he continued, this is not meant for one person, or one nation, or for greed. It is meant for all of humanity. The Mayans warned us. If we use this selfishly, it will bring destruction. But if we use it with respect, it can bring light, peace, and balance to the world. Slowly, the crowd began to understand. The crystal was not a treasure to be kept, but a responsibility to be shared. In the weeks that followed, Ramon and his team worked with scientists to study the crystal in careful detail. They built small devices that drew energy from it without harming it. The crystal lit entire rooms without wires, purified water instantly, and powered machines silently. The possibilities were endless, but Ramon always reminded them of the city's warning. Matteo often stood by his side, watching the glow. It feels like the Mayans are still with us, he said one evening. Their wisdom lives in this crystal. Ramon smiled. Yes. And it lives in us now too. We are part of their story, and we must carry it forward. The discovery of the lost gold of the Mayan underworld inspired people across the world. It reminded humanity that treasure was not just wealth or power, but knowledge, respect, and balance. It showed that even an ancient civilization could guide the future, if only people were willing to listen. Ramon often thought back to the glowing corridors, the guardians, and the final vision of two paths, one of harmony and one of ruin. He knew the future would depend not on the crystal itself, but on the choices people made. That was the true test, and it was not yet finished. One evening, as the sun set and the crystal glowed softly in the twilight, Ramon whispered to himself, the Mayans trusted us. Now we must trust ourselves. And with that, a new chapter of human history began, born not from greed or conquest, but from the wisdom of a people who had hidden their greatest treasure beneath the earth, waiting for humanity to be ready. The lost gold of the Mayan underworld was no longer lost. It had returned to the world, carrying both hope and responsibility for all.